All right, so what is a unit rate? It's nothing more than a ratio where the second number is a 1. And we see those a lot of times when we're trying to get some information to use it, like 55 miles per hour. That's 55 miles per 1 hour. That means 55 over 1. So, that's the key. The bottom number, the second number, is a 1. And if we looked at these are examples of unit rates. 6 apples are bought for $1, 18 pounds for 1 foot, 2.75 miles for 1 minute. Those are examples of unit rates. Why? For nothing else than the fact that, hey, basically we've got a 1 down here on the second number. The other thing is that rates do go ahead and consider themselves to be a rate once you label the ratios. That way you can tell what those numbers mean. Now, how do we get a unit rate? Well, first off, you got to get a regular rate or ratio, and then you go from there. And then basically, you take a look at the bottom number and you use that number. So right here, we've got 16 miles to 2 minutes. This is uh, a rate because it's a ratio basically with the labels. And I'm focusing right here on the bottom number. That's 2. And so we're going to use that to divide top and bottom by 2 because that's the number used. And what that does is that lets us be able to get a 1 on the bottom. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So it's kind of like the old saying, what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. But where do we get this number from? It matches the bottom because we want to divide the bottom by itself to get the 1. And now this is a unit rate, 8 miles for 1 minute. That's so much easier to figure out now. Hey, how many miles could you go in 4 minutes? Well, you just times it by 8 and you'd have 32. How many miles could you go in 17 minutes? Well, you times 17 by 8, and now you know. So it's very, very useful with these unit rates. What about this one right here, though? 25 miles in 50 minutes. We still have to look at the bottom number. It's 50. And so we're going to divide top and bottom by 50, and we get 0.5 over 1. So we can go half a mile for every 1 minute. The unit rate is just so much usable when you take the time to make sure that you uh, put it down into the denominator of being 1 because you can figure out calculations very quickly. Like, for example, for this right here, we're not going to be asking for a unit rate, but we want to know how much for 1 cupcake. So if you made a template, you would put cupcakes on bottom so that way you can make, a 1 right there because we just learned how to make a unit rate with a 1 on the bottom. And we're going to use this template to take this information and make a regular rate and then turn it into a unit rate. So money goes on top, cupcakes on bottom. So let's use this one, 1050 on top because that's money, and 3 cupcakes on the bottom. What would I do to turn this rate into a unit rate? Divide top and bottom by, hopefully you said 3. So 1050 divided by 3 is 350, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So it's $3.50 for 1 cupcake. That unit rate actually gave us an answer there. That also lets us be able to figure out, well, how much would it cost for 2,500 cupcakes? You could just multiply it by the cost of that 1 cupcake. Let's try a different one. 3150 on top and 9 cupcakes on bottom. So you could divide top and bottom by 9. 3150 divided by 9 is 350. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Um, the one piece of data that you cannot use um, in this type of setup is the 0, 0. It screws things up. You can't divide things by 0. You get a calculator error. So just kind of stay away from this type of data right here. It's not going to be very helpful to you. Hopefully this just gives you a ground rule of how you start to use unit rates. It's nothing more than taking a regular ratio and turning it into a special one where there's a 1 on the bottom, and we've gone over that enough times, I think.